Hello and welcome everyone. So I'll be explaining recent Codeforces round 762, problem A, split it. So in this problem, you are actually given a string consisting of n characters and an integer k, but the constraint of k is from 0 to can be from 0 till n by 2, floor of n by 2. Okay, now what you have to do is finally you have to return the validation of something, which is either yes or no. Okay, and what would that be? You're given a string s, and you have to do the following operations with given k. And the thing is that you have to come up with k plus 1 non-empty strings, and you will concatenate them one by one like this: a1 plus a2 plus a3 till ak plus 1. And after that you will also concatenate the same strings from 1 till k. Okay, same type of strings from 1 till k, but in their reverse order. You have to concatenate that. Now what could be the efficient approach to solve this problem? So in order to do this, first we have to analyze it. So let's take one example. Okay, so here we have got QW, QW, Q. Okay, so Q, W, Q, W, and Q. And the results that n that are given is n is 5, which is the length of the string, and k is 1. Now k is 1, which means I have to first concatenate till strings 1, first string 1, which means a1, and then till k plus 1. Okay, so which means if k is 1, then 1 and 2, they will be concatenated as you would arrange them. But after that you have to do this. You have to concatenate a1, but it will be the same string as the a1 that you have concatenated earlier, but in the reverse order. So that's how you have to do. Now if I say that, okay, my n is 5 and my k is 1. Okay, so what should be the approach? Remember, if you could analyze it, if you slightly analyze this problem, you will have an observation that I can never possibly look, this string ultimately the operations that we're going to be doing, like this, as I told you, this has to be equal to the previous string that will be given to us. So ultimately my total operation ultimate result would be equal to the string that I'm actually taking input. So in order to make that string same as the previous one that we're taking, we can only do this if we make a1, let's say this is my a1 and this is my reverse a1. Now if you could slightly analyze, you will have that observation that they have to be equal. They will always have to be equal in order to make the same string that we took. Okay, so when does that happen? Actually, when a1 does become equal to the reverse of a1, when these two substring parts are palindrome to each other. Absolutely. So what I have to do, or what I have to maintain, is that, okay, can I make a palindrome of some substring till some point? Can I make some substring here which will be my palindrome, which is gonna be palindromic when I add the reverse one, and ultimately the result will come up with the string that I have taken. Now if you could, now there's a helping hand for us, which is the k plus 1 substring. This is going to help us a lot. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is there's a reason that they have said that k plus 1th. Okay, so why it's important here, you have to understand what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying, okay, now trying to find out some substring which is and making it reversible and then adding it. It's going to be a tiring work. Why don't we do something like this? Why don't we take instead of taking a substring of more than one characters, why don't we take substring of only one character from both ends? What I'm meaning by is that we know that in order to make the string possible, it has to be palindrome at some point. Okay, till some point it has to be a palindrome. I'll show you how it's gonna work. Let's say QWQ, WQ, Q, W, Q, W, and Q. Okay, now this is possible because it can be any string. This is possible because it is there's some point that till some point there are some ways that I can make it a palindrome. If I say a string something like that, A, B, C, D, A, then I would know that yes, okay, this is part of a palindrome. I can say that A is equal to A. Now D is not equal to B. So I can measure that there. What I have to first measure is till which point the prefix and the suffix substring makes it a palindromic type. That's exactly what we have to find out here. Now, why it's needed? Now, if you could look, let's say this is a string, there are some characters, I don't know, but I'm measuring. What will I do? I will try to find out that at some point, it doesn't matter, but at some point, till some point, it has to be, I have to try to make it palindrome wise, okay? It might happen that this character does not get equal to this. If it doesn't happen, then I don't have a palindromic character here. But I have to find out how far I can go like this when I compare to find out palindrome. Now in this string, what will I do? I will compare, just as I do when I try to find out the palindrome. Exactly what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing the first and last characters until they're not equal. Okay, so if they're equal, then I'm just running out the loop from J. This J pointer will be moving backwards, and then I pointer will be moving forwards till some point I will reach where this I, which means SI, is not equal to SJ. Okay, so how does that help us? When I will find out that some point that position is position 1, let's say that position is position 1 where S of position 1 is not equal to S of position 2, but I also know that S from S of 0 to S of position 1 minus 1 and S of position 2 plus 1 till S of position of n minus 1 is the palindrome part. Okay, so what will I do is that, okay, I will then what I will do is, yes, I have that palindrome part. Now what I will do is I will try to count how many characters that I had to go through to make palindrome, which is nothing but position 1 minus 1, or position, if it's one indexing, then it's going to be position 1 minus 1, otherwise it's going to be position 1 I mean, it's going to be position 1. You could say position 1 minus 1, sorry, because from S position 1, which is not equal to S position of 2. So the part that's going to be inside, the part that I'm going to be making only a single character palindrome, and I have to find out the count of that. When I do this, I know that, yes, I also know that single characters, they are also palindrome to each other, which is good. And what about the next part? When I do this, after that, the part that I'm gonna be left with is S of position 1 till S of position 2, the part which does not belong to make a palindrome for us. Okay, so after that, so far we have figured out how many single character palindromes we can get. Now, okay, so what will we do next? After that, what's going to be our next approach? We know that we have to, in order to make the string as, I have to make this character equal to this character. Remember what I said. What I've found out is I'm going to be making and counting, and I'm going to be making palindromes of single characters. How? Just by checking the same palindromic function that we try to find out. We're going to be comparing, but yes, we're going to be trying to make till at which position that they don't match. Those two characters, the first and the last, I'm going to be traversing from front to back. I'm going to be traversing that. And when I found out that part, that significant part, which does not meet the condition of being palindrome, what I will do is I'm going to make all of these substrings to my k plus 1th string. Okay? Again, simply what I'm trying to say is, let's say I have this, and I have found out till that, okay? But this part does not belong to that single character palindromic position, because this position's character does not match to this. So I can know that no longer make it a palindrome. So what I will try to do is I will try to make it my k plus 1th string, and all of these characters, they will be A1 and they will be A2, they will be my A2 reverse. Now A2 reverse is actually A2 because this A2 is actually referring to what? Only one character palindrome. One character, okay, palindrome. Then what we have to do is we have to check. There might be some condition that I may not get enough of characters to even make that string. That's why we have to check one condition after that, which is we're going to be checking whether the count of my palindromes, the A1s till A2, which is actually what I know that my position 1, from position 1 to position 2 is the unmatched part. So what is the rest of the part? The rest part is position 1 minus 1, and its reverse is going to be in the last position. So I know that position 1 minus 1 characters can be palindrome. Okay, and I have to compare it with k plus 1. Now the comparing part I'll come to you later, but let me show you the code. Okay, where is the code part? There you go. Let's get down here. it down here. Okay, so let's make you understand the code part. Here we're taking a test case and then n and then k and then that string. Now remember, if k is equal to 0, then the answer is yes. Why it's yes? Let me show you. Look, if k is 0, then we have to draw the string till k plus 1. We know that. The question told us k can be equal to 0. So if k is 0, we have to draw the strings till a k plus 1. Now we know that k plus 1 is itself equal to 1, a1, which means I have nothing but to make the whole string as my a1, which means I don't have anything for my palindrome. I don't even have to check whether this string is palindrome or not. The whole string itself is going to be that. So that's why it's always yes. And after that, here we are actually, remember what I told you, I'll try to check as I would do when I try to check in palindrome. Now this is my part where I'm actually measuring that unmatched group, position 1 till position 2. Okay, and then if that situation occurs at some point, if that situation occurs, we know what to do, and we know that how many strings, how many palindromic strings that I can build from here, which is nothing but position 1 plus 1. Here position 1 plus 1 is because of the zero base indexing. Don't worry about that. Okay, this position 1 plus 1. If it was 1 base indexing, then I would do the opposite one. Okay, so also one thing to notice is that if that string becomes palindrome, okay, if that string becomes palindrome, then it's always yes. But here one condition that I have here fulfilled. I will explain what does that condition mean by here, which is now let me explain. If that string is not a palindrome, if a total palindrome, then I know that there will be some groups which I really have to make my k plus 1th string. There's no way, but in order to make that k plus 1th string, I need to make sure it is k plus 1th or not. Okay, I need to make sure that whether it is k plus 1th or maybe greater than k plus 1th or not. Why is that? Let me explain you. Why is that? If you remember what I told you earlier, is that I know that I have to make my string, and in order to make my string I have to follow some rules, which is 1 till some k and then k plus 1, and then after that k plus 1 it will be k till 1, which is going to be 1 till n. Okay, right? Now I need to make sure that this group that I'm trying to make, and I'm trying to direct it as my unmatched group. But if the string is itself not a palindrome, itself is a palindrome, that's a different story. If it's not, then I know that there will be some positions which will not accept as a palindromic part, and that part I have to make it k plus 1. But I also have to mention and measure that whether it is greater than or equal to k plus 1th or not, because if it is greater than or equal to I have to measure how many strings that have been matched as a 1-character palindrome. How many strings? How many prefixes, you could say. Okay, which is what I told you is position 1 plus 1 if position is zero base indexing. Okay, now if position is zero-based indexing. Now if you see that if this number, let's assume that this number is less than k. If it's less than k, just try to analyze. If it's less than k, then I know that no matter what happens, I have to make after that, no matter what happens, I have to make those characters equal to k plus 1. Now you know that if it's less than k, if my position minus 1 or position 1 plus 1, the total count of my prefix 1 character palindromic string is less than k, then I know that the next number, the next character of string is definitely not going to be k plus 1, because I have found out only less than k strings. The next character won't definitely not be k plus 1. That's why we have to measure and compare it with, let's say if position 1 is zero-based indexing, then position 1 plus 1, whether it is greater than or equal to k plus 1. Now you might be wondering, how is that going to help us if position 1 plus 1 is greater than k plus 1? It will help us. In fact, it will improve us, improve our result. We can have our some extra characters which we can either make it as palindrome, or we can drag it down to k plus 1 string. That's how it's going to help us. Okay, so if it's less than k plus 1, then it's not going to help us. If it's greater than or equal to k plus 1, it's going to help us for sure. And so that's how you're going to be doing this problem. And this is also doing the same thing that I have told you earlier, but as this part is for totally palindromic string, that's why I'm just trying to make sure. But I think I don't even need that condition, because the string is already palindrome, so I can make anything I want. But anyway, for the safety purpose, I did both of these conditions in both the scenarios possibilities. I hope it made you understand that. Till next time, goodbye.